If we can just win 4-0 every week, I think we'll be okay. Hello everybody, it's Ian here once again from OUFC Fan View, and it's time for another review of another Oxford United game. It's 5 games to go left in the season. It's 5 cup finals. The first of those cup finals is away at Burton Albion. So Oxford dispatched off Fleetwood Town on Easter Monday, and they were looking to do the same against a Burton Albion side that are pretty similar to Fleetwood Town, struggling down the bottom of the table. But back-to-back wins has been something that Oxford have struggled to do under Des Buckingham, but there was no such struggle today as Oxford dispatched of Burton Albion in very similar fashion to what we did against Fleetwood. It ended, once again, a big high scoreline for Oxford United. It was Burton Albion 0, Oxford United 4. So Oxford get back-to-back 4-0 victories, and what's better is they put themselves back into the playoff positions as Lincoln got a 1-1 draw against Reading. But we'll go over everything. We'll go over the team news, I'll give my match review, and I will do a final thoughts for both sides. You can jump to any point of the video if you like. If you just want to go to the final thoughts, that's absolutely fine. I'll put timestamps down below to help you do that. But if you do that, shame on you. You should watch this golden quality content all the way through. And the very least you can do is hit that like button, because that does help me out a lot. And if you do like the content, consider subscribing. So let's have a look at the team news, and let's start with Oxford United. And it was just one change from Des Buckingham's side that did get that impressive win over Fleetwood Town. It is Joe Bennett who comes out of the side with a slight knock, so that probably means in Oxford United terms he'll probably be out for 6 months. But Greg Lee is very, very capable understudy who would probably be a first team left back in most sides. Comes back into the side at left back. Other than that is as you were. So not really surprising there. But there's still no Will Goodwin. He was supposed to be back in the squad for this game, but once again he misses out. Thankfully, Oxford aren't really missing him too much at the moment. Marcus McGuano is still once again omitted from the squad. We'll get back to whether he might be included for the remaining games. But Finn Stevens is back in the squad. He is back on the bench. Moving on to Burton Albion and Martin Patterson's Brewers started today in 20th place. Just 1 place and 1 point outside of the drop zone. It's been a struggle all the way through for Burton, and the change of manager has not really given them the stability they had hoped for, and they've not won a game since the 17th of February. Albion make 3 changes from the Easter Monday 3-1 defeat to Barnsley. Sweeney, Ola Adeboma and Bowler, difficult to say those names back to back, come into the side at the expense of Jasper Moon, Raheem Harper and Mason Bennett. Ex-Oxford United goalkeeper Max Crocombe is in goal for Burton, and there is no Steve Seddon though. He is on loan from Oxford United, so presumably he can't play against his parent club, but I don't think anyway he's exactly been pulling up any trees this season. So moving on to the game, and it was actually a decent start for Oxford for the first few minutes. They definitely were on the front foot, keen to get that early goal. And we did see a break early in the game from a Burton set piece where Murphy got in behind. Get used to hearing that a few times today. Actually couldn't get the ball out of his feet, and he ended up taking it wide, and the chance went away. Burton, not really much of a football inside, and that is being very generous to them. And their main route to goal and only route to goal was set pieces, or hoping that Harmer could bomb a ball into the goalmouth area from his long throw-ins and cause a bit of panic. But the game did go scrappy after those first few minutes. There was a swirling wind, and it wasn't a great pitch, and all of that wasn't really helping the game. Oxford were at least trying to play some football, but not having a huge amount of joy, whilst Burton just seemed happy to keep it 0-0 and just happy to bomb it forward whenever they could. And we've seen this a lot this season from Oxford United. Not much happening in the game. We get to the midpoint of the first half, and all of a sudden, Oxford United take the lead. It was on the break, and it was from a Burton long hurl into the box that Oxford cleared to the halfway line, and Bowler, The Burton Albion defender made a horrible, shocking, terrible mess of a bouncing ball. He jumped, mistimed his jump, and it ended up just hitting him on the top of the head, and it meant Mark Harris could just steam through on goal. We've seen Mark Harris make a mess of these types of chances in the past, but he made no mistake here. He bore down on Max Crocombe, got around Crocombe, and tapped it in to an empty net. Great finish from Sparky. Oxford 1-0 up. But this didn't mean it was all sunshine and rainbows for Oxford United. And we had some bad news on 33 minutes, and that is that Cameron Brannagan went off injured. It looked an innocuous one. It looked like he went into a challenge and just stayed down. He did walk off the pitch, but we don't know what that means. And if he is out for any game, even could be out for all the games, that is a massive blow for Oxford United. Moving back to the game, and Burton Albion were their own worst enemies in this one. Another shocking mistake at the back, a terrible back pass from Sweeney where he's just drilled it at Crocombe, and it puts Crocombe in so much trouble. Mark Harris gets out there to close him down. He gets it off to Goodrum, but no Goodwin, Goodrum. But the Burton Albion defence are just about able to get back and clear the danger. Mark Harris having a great game up front. He did really well again just 2 minutes later, winning the ball in midfield, and he played the ball out to Dale on the right hand side. Dale got into the area, but he blazed his chance over the bar. Burton offered absolutely nothing in this first half, but they did almost go in level at the break. Set pieces looking their main route to goal, and they nearly scored directly from a corner. Powell swung a ball in, hit the top of the bar, and that is the closest Burton came in the first half. And Oxford got through to half-time 1-0 up. Look, from a game point of view, it was pretty much bowling shoe ugly. But Oxford were doing enough, and I would say deserved to be in the lead, and were pretty much in control of the game. The wind and the pitch were not helping the quality of the game, mind, but Oxford were at least working hard and putting a shift in. Once again, they are squandering chances, and you're just hoping that isn't going to come back to haunt them, because a 1-0 lead for Oxford United is never comfortable. But this Burton Albion side is a poor team, and all they just seem happy to do is just bomb the ball into the box, mainly from set pieces or long throw-ins, and hope to get a knockdown or get something from a second phase. But Oxford have been very, very comfortable, and Burton have offered absolutely nothing. The injury to Brannagan is a huge worry, and it's something we'll talk about at the end. But Oxford can't worry about that at the moment, and they just need to get through this next 45 minutes, get on the bus with 3 points. But we got into the second half, and thankfully Oxford did not sit back and just protect a 1-0 lead. They took the game to Burton pretty much from the kickoff, got the goals, got the job done. But they started Oxford almost straight away. First 2 minutes, Harris beat the offside trap, got into the byline, pulled it back to Tyler Goodrum. Goodrum got on the end of it, but he could only hit it straight at Max Crocombe. Murphy then nearly did what Burton did in the first half, scoring a goal just from a cross which held up in the wind. It was a very, we know what Murphy's like with his crosses. He hits them with a lot of pace. This one had Crocombe in a lot of trouble and nearly dropped in over his head at the back post. But 3 minutes later, the chances kept piling up, and you're just wondering, is this going to be one where Oxford squander a load of chances? Are we going to rue these chances, is what I was thinking at this point. It's another shocker of a back pass, and Crocombe makes a mess of it. Mark Harris is onto it like a flash, but he can only get pushed wide. The angle was against him, and he could only put it into the side netting. What's made it worse is Harris went down, looked like he'd rolled his ankle, but he was able to carry on in the short term. And it's a good job that he did, because are Oxford going to rue these chances? The answer is no. I needn't have worried, because just 2 minutes later, Oxford make it 2-0. Tyler Goodrum started to move, carving the Burton defence open with a ball to Murphy, who got 3 down the left-hand side. He was in acres of space. He drove into the penalty area. He then very selfishly and just about squared it to Mark Harris, who just about rolled it into an empty net. Oxford deserved to be 2-0 up, and finally they were. And we didn't have to wait long for Oxford to make it 3-0. Burton actually trying to show a little bit of attacking intent, but it's another goal from a Burton set piece, and it actually was a decent chance for Burton at the start of the move. Oxford a little bit sleepy from the throw-in. Burton got into the penalty area. It was actually a fantastic block by Elliott Moore to start the move. Harris got the ball on the edge of the box. He gave it to Murphy, and Murphy is just outside the Oxford penalty area, when he starts his run, and he just motors forward, and he keeps going, and he keeps going, and he keeps going. He must have carried it all of 70 yards. He rolls it past Max Crocombe. Fan-bloody-tastic from Josh Murphy, who just seems to be getting better and better. Oxford have won it now. We're 3-0 up. Unlike what we saw against Fleetwood, Oxford's attention turned to keeping a clean sheet. But they were a little untidy at the back on 68 minutes, and the ball was able to get through to Dylan Scott, the Burton substitute. He had a shooting chance on the Burton right-hand side, but he shot it straight at Jamie Cumming. But just a minute later, Oxford made it 4-0. At the back, once again, Burton absolutely terrible, playing with this high line, which Oxford were able to just break with ease. Just a very easy straight through ball from Josh McEachran, and this time it was James Henry on as a substitute, motoring forward, racing forward to get onto the ball. He rode a challenge on the edge of the box. He's in acres of space, and he puts Max Crocombe the wrong way, calmly placing it in to the bottom corner. That's 2 for the season now for James Henry. 4-0 up again. To be fair to Burton, they did actually probably look the best team from that point onwards for the remaining 20-25 minutes of the game, as Oxford just sat back and were in cruise control. Kwame was a Burton substitute on the left-hand side, and he probably looked their most lively player. I was surprised he didn't start the game. He certainly was one person who looked like he was willing to run with the ball and got into a couple of decent areas. Josh Murphy had such a good game. He came off with about 10 minutes to go. He even got a standing ovation from the Burton fans. But as I said, Burton did show a little bit of attacking intent for the end of this game. Oxford did stand up to it though, stood up to it quite firmly in defence, was solid as they needed to be. And when the defence didn't do a job, Jamie Cumming was very tidy in goal, and he was forced into a save from Hamer, which was from a header at the back post, which was probably his most difficult save to make. Burton had one more chance at the end of the game. It was a good chance from Brayford from a corner, who got a bit of space at the back post, but his effort was pretty much what you'd expect from a defender. He drilled it wide and into the crowd. The last action of the game was Elliott Moore coming off with a precautionary injury. And we'll talk about it more at the end of the game, because those potential injuries to Brannagan, Harris and Moore could be devastating. But today's game finished 4-0 to Oxford. They had to win this game today, and they won it in style. And that brings me on to my final thoughts, and that starts with Burton Albion, the home side. And I've got to say, Burton were terrible. Burton were really poor today, and We say this a few times when Oxford win a game. We tend to look at the opposition being bad rather than praise ourselves. And we've said it recently against Port Vale and against Fleetwood. But I think this is the worst side we've played against this season. They offered virtually nothing going forward. They didn't look like they had any creativity in their lineup other than just hoping that a ball drops to them in the penalty area from a set piece or a long throwing. And at the back, they just made so many mistakes. I don't know why they left such a high line for the likes of Harris, Murphy and Dale, and whoever else Oxford wanted to run in behind. But they made so many mistakes as well. I just really can't see how this Burton side turns it around based on what I saw today. And I have very little optimism. You might be able to grind out a couple of 1-0 wins and kind of fall over the line, but you should be very worried and very nervous about the drop, Burton fans, because it doesn't look good for you guys. The only positive I would say is Max Crocombe looks a solid goalkeeper, but other than that, it's very slim pickings. But let me know, Burton fans, do you feel like this was just an off day and you've been better than that in recent weeks? Or do you feel Oxford just played well today and put you to the sword a little bit? And let me know if you think that you can stay up, and if you do stay up, what's going to be the plan moving on for next season, or if you do go down, what's the plan for next season? Be interesting to know your thoughts, and I'd actually be very surprised if any Burton fan takes the time to do that. But as always, I do wish you luck for the rest of the season, and we'll move on to Oxford United. So another excellent victory for Oxford United today, and since we lost that game to Bolton 5-0, we've had 3 victories, 1 draw, and I think we've racked up 11 goals and conceded 1. So Des Buckingham and his side have done exactly what we needed to do. We've played 4 poor sides down the bottom of the league. We've won 3 of them and we've drawn 1. We sit in the playoff position, 2 points ahead of Lincoln City. But the season in many respects starts now. We had to beat those sides. We've beaten them comfortably. But starting from next week, things are going to get a lot tougher. That 4-1-4-1 tactic we've been deploying since that Bolton game has certainly worked. It's certainly made Oxford more of an attacking threat. And against these sides down the bottom of the table, they can't seem to be able to live with the pace and the power that we have on the break and in open play as well. The wingers are simply magnificent at the moment. Dale was a little quiet today, but I still thought he played his part. But Josh Murphy was fantastic in everything that he did. I mean, what a turnaround, what a redemption story, and what a end to the season. Second half to the season he is having for Oxford United, and everything he touches is looking very good from an Oxford United point of view. He's got an assist today, he's got a goal today, and long may it continue. But Oxford were pretty solid today. Burton didn't give them too many troubles, but they didn't give anything cheap to Burton Albion. They defended their penalty area really well. There was no mistakes from coming, and they just picked Burton off. Yes, Burton made mistakes, but Oxford took advantage of those mistakes, and they looked very threatening going forward time after time, especially in the second half where Burton had to come out and try and get back into the game. Oxford just picked them off at will, and it was very nice and very easy viewing back-to-back games where Oxford are home and hosed with half an hour to go and absolutely cruising. But attention has to move now to this Peterborough game and this Lincoln game and this Stevenage game, and I just can't see how Oxford can go into that game playing 4-1-4-1. I can't see how that is going to work. Maybe it will. Maybe we'll try it and maybe it will come off. But I feel we're going to be too exposed if we don't have at least 2 holding midfielders in there trying to protect that back 4 a little bit more. Because these are miles better sides than what we've been playing recently. Port Vale, Shrewsbury, Fleetwood and Burton are not only 4 of the poorer sides, they're 4 of the weakest sides in terms of scoring goals and converting chances. Peterborough, Lincoln and Stevenage are certainly not in that bracket, and they're certainly going to cause Oxford more problems than these other sides have. So it'll be interesting to see what Des Buckingham does, and not least what is interesting to see who he has available. Cameron Brannagan, Mark Harris, Elliott Moore all going off with injuries. Thank goodness Oxford have got a week to prepare for this Peterborough game, and hopefully these guys are not too badly injured that we can patch them up and get them out on the field, because that is the bloody spine of your team right there with Moore, Brannagan and Harris, and there's 3 pivotal players to this Oxford United lineup. And it's hard to say. It's a toss-up between which one's going to miss more, Moore or Brannagan. You'd probably say Brannagan, but Moore is right behind it. But let's not rule out Sparky as well. He's had some gold Routs this season, but he's back in the goals again. And in all competitions, that is 17 goals for Mark Harris now. And that is a fantastic return for a guy who we didn't think was much snuff, certainly during the early parts of the season. Much snuff, probably a bit harsh. I think we thought he was great work rate, but not a great finisher and a goal scorer. But he's kind of proven us wrong in that regard. And again, long may it continue. But there is also something to look at as well. Is Will Goodwin going to be available? Be interesting to know what Des Buckingham's comments are on there, and whether you can actually believe those comments, because he's talked about him being back in the lineup now for the last couple of games, and he's still nowhere to be seen. Is Joe Bennett going to be out for a long time, and is Greg Lee going to have to stay in that left back role? It's not too much of a problem because Lee was excellent today. But also, if Brannagan is out, does that mean that Marcus McGuane is going to be in from the cold and playing again? And what sort of relationship damage has been done to McGuane from him being dropped, and where's his headspace going to be heading into these games? Or are Oxford going to be trying to play Ocean Smith in that role, maybe alongside McEachran, maybe play Henry in there? Who knows? But I will say one thing is we're not looking at the other side of the coin from Peterborough's point of view and thinking about the tough week they've got ahead. They play tomorrow in the Bristol Street Motors Trophy against Wycombe, and then they play Wednesday, and then they play Saturday. So hopefully we might be meeting a Peterborough side who might also be comfortable in the playoffs, but also might be a bit tired after a difficult week. So things might roll in our favour in that regard. Going back to today, Oxford United did what they needed to do. Des Buckingham did what he needed to do. It doesn't solve all the problems of the side. No, it doesn't. But Oxford United needed to win today, and Oxford United won today in style. So above all else, let's be happy and let's look forward to this week against the better sides that we come across, and we go into it with hopefully a lot of confidence. But let me know how you're feeling, Oxford fans, after this one. Let me know your comments down below, and above all else, as I say, just enjoy it, the fact that we've won 2 games, regardless of who we play, 4-0 in a row, which doesn't happen very often. But let me know. I'll be back to do a review of the Peterborough game, which I'm sure will be a lot more nervy than this one was. But if we can win that one, my goodness, you'd feel that does put us very strong shout of getting into the playoffs. Whew, the season starts now, doesn't it? I think it's going to be exciting. Thanks for watching. I'll be back next week.